I'm Todd Gilchrist. I'm film editor for the AV Club, and I'm here with
Allison Foreman, associate editor.
And Jack Smart, senior film writer.
It feels like it would be inappropriate to start with anything other than the showdown between Will Smith and Chris Rock. What were you guys sort of reactions to that, particularly in terms of the overall show, how it sort of either shaped or changed the show as we were all kind of wondering if anything really exciting was going to happen throughout the night?
Yeah, I think that for me at my viewing party and then us over Slack and in text messages and certainly on Twitter, it was this process of first there was a lot of confusion and then it kind of graduated to alarm. And then I think, and here we are the morning after, I think I'm, for one, am still processing the idea that this is one of the most shocking moments in Oscar telecast history. It wasn't just like, oh, this will be the most notable moment of the night. This will be a notable moment for a very long time. This is up there with The Streaker and with the La La Land and Moonlight switcheroo. It's just very, very notable, and as you say, there weren't a ton of surprises before that point. So it did sort of change the trajectory of the ceremony, I would say.
Yeah.
I totally agree with Jack. I take issue with anyone describing it as one of the most. It's the most. Like, I will truly short of like, I don't know, a 5-alarm fire, I cannot imagine anything. Because honestly, my initial reaction wasn't what overwhelmed me so much as it was like the 2 a.m. inability to sleep, because I was just looking up photos of them at parties being like, how is everyone? Like, it's just so easy to kind of fall into the overwhelming drama of that particular narrative, and yeah, it's just really reflective of a weird moment in time, and it really took over the award show, right? Which was an interesting thing when we look at big winners like Best Picture winner Coda and saying, does that overshadow that or whatever? It's a lot to process.
It is a shame because it is supposed to be, of course, the Oscars are celebrating prestige cinema and celebrating these winners, and I do think years from now people will be saying, remember that crazy thing that happened at the Oscars, and they won't be saying, and Coda won Best Picture at that Oscars.
Yeah.
For each of you, what was maybe your favorite win of the night and why?
Okay, I'm gonna just throw it out there. It was expected. Best costume. I love Cruella. I think Cruella is a really fun movie, and the reason that I just really enjoyed that is because I think like I'm a sucker for the Glenn Close original Cruellas. Those also won Best Costume, or at least one of them did, maybe both. And yeah, I think there's just something about like mainstay moments where you're like, yeah, that's gonna be great fashion, and the costume designer who's put on that is gonna do an amazing job.
I would say I would say Dune's, all of Dune's wins count as my favorite because they were all just so deserved. The design of that movie, the production design, the cinematography, that is like a why we go to the movies type of movie, and it was cool to see the Oscars recognize that in, I believe, 6 different ways.
Were there any speeches that the two of you especially liked? That you, or maybe didn't like, for that matter.
Oh, I don't know if there were speeches we didn't like. Yeah. Ariana DeBose won the first the first televised award of the night, and I liked that she packed a lot into a succinct speech about being yourself. What did she do? She quoted the movie, right? There's a Place for Us. What did she do? Yeah. It's lovely.
Yeah. Nice legacy moment there for sure. Predictable, but Troy Kotsur, I mean, like he won my heart all season. I think he's an incredible selection for Best Supporting Actor, just like clearly far and away the choice. And I think, it was the perfect little capstone moment for him at the end of an amazing award season to get up there and do an impression of Popeye and talk about Sean Hayter, and he was just like so chaotic and funny and sweet, and it was a very good. He's polished his acceptance speech approach to perfection, and I'm really looking forward for his next role, because I think that's going to be a really exciting time to see him come out and hit again. And I think I don't think that's his last nomination.
The results, I mean, like Ali said, like Troy Kotsur and Ariana DeBose were both have honed their acceptance speeches because they had a lot of chances to deliver them, and so. We are at this interesting point where it's just a trend of the precursor awards, especially the guilds, they really do predict the Oscar results, especially for those actors. And I'm not saying I was absolutely rooting for Jessica Chastain, but I did think that if there were to be a surprise, it might be in Best Actress. Again, I really wanted her to win, and I know we're gonna talk about her, but I was sort of hoping for maybe an Olivia Colman defeating Glenn Close type of moment. It did not happen. Olivia Colman could have actually done it again. And it didn't happen, and that's fine. I would see the answer to that question is no, that we're not really surprised in the results.
Well, I was going to, one of the, a little further to that end, one of the things that was interesting was that I feel like over the last 2 weeks leading up to the Oscars, there was this highly concentrated debate between whether Coda or Power the Dog was going to prevail, not in Best Picture and, many of these sort of highest profile categories. And, it felt to me like whichever one wins, it will still not be a surprise. But, having sort of witnessed, as I know you two both have, sort of the discourse that led up to that, whether it was Jane Campion winning beforehand and giving this speech that was a little bit tone deaf when she mentions the Williams sisters, or things like that. Do you feel like any of that stuff necessarily teed that up, or was this pretty much kind of a foregone conclusion the way that it shook out, regardless of those little sort of stumbles throughout the build-up?
I will say I read the tea leaves. Obviously, Jack is much more coming from the awards space. I'm much more coming from like a textual space, just to say that like comparing the two movies, not even considering how voters would react, just looking at the moment, a heartfelt family story about deaf parents with a hearing child versus weird revenge plot set in the West where everybody's got their butt out. It's just a different vibe, and that's just a different, you know what I mean? It's like, I think realistically it was never gonna hit with Academy voters. I think it found its audience very much. Obviously it was honored at the Indie Spirit Awards, it was honored at Critics' Choice, it's been honored 6 ways till Sunday, so I feel like ultimately, Power of the Dog got more than its due, but I didn't really think it had a chance, especially not after the PGA Coda verdicts came down. I mean, it is what it is, right?
I thought, I just think Power of the Dog, from the moment I saw it, was like a little bit too weird to win Best Picture, as you said. Psychological drama and Western, that's a little. And I also was wondering about the Netflix factor of it all and what the Academy would think about, finally awarding Netflix, not finally, awarding Netflix, their first Best Picture win. And I guess we'll never know if that really played into it. It's also just ironic that Apple TV Plus, for their debut Best Picture nominee, they do become the first streamer to win the Best Picture Oscar.
Final takeaways or reactions that you have not shared
Well, we didn't talk about Jessica Chastain's dress.
Which we do all love.
And we gotta talk about Kristen Stewart's shorts.
The fashion was fun,
Yeah, it was a good night for
As
fashion.
it always is, yeah.
I will say I also haven't, we haven't talked about this, but Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, I really liked seeing them, Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress, little couple moment. It was a really fun night for couples, Javier Bardem, Penelope Cruz. Not a fun night for all couples, I guess, if for Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith, but it is, it was for the most part a really fun kind of star-studded night that even for its rough patches was very, very entertaining and very memorable.
Edge of my seat, totally. And you mentioned Beyonce starting the show. It was a great way to start the show, and I do think that the lovely moment between Lady Gaga and Liza Minnelli was a perfect way to bookend the show.
This is Todd Gilchrist, the film editor at the AV Club.
I'm Allison Foreman, the associate editor at the AV Club.
And I'm Jack Smart, the senior film writer.